Hi, my name is Mike with SB. Today we're going to be going over our SB 2-inch black EX tape head. We're going to go over some adjustments, some troubleshooting, and some part replacements. So first we'll start out with some common replaced parts, how to replace them, where to look, and what to do. So first we'll start with the wipe rollers. Wipe rollers are the first and the second, the front or the rear as we call them, wipe rollers. These wipe rollers will end up wiping the tape on the carton as it goes by. Oftentimes these are made of rubber and so they will get worn out after time. We suggest not to cut this rubber with any kind of abrasive. If you need to clean it, try to clean it gently. If you need to replace it, that's what we'll go through now. Inside there's an internal snap ring, and so we'll grab a snap ring pliers, which we have look like this. And so we'll put it inside, pull the snap ring out, and then with the tape out of the way here, this roller itself is going to slide out from the inside. So there's a little plastic washer on here. You can see that plastic washer is there. And there's also a plastic washer on the back side, and then a spring. So the wipe roller itself is going to look different than the rear wipe roller. Again, the front is a little bit different than the rear. So these are the components for it. So when we replace it, you'll get a new one of these. The springs will be a different part number, same with the retaining ring and the plastic clips. When we get the new one, we'll put the spring on the shaft, put one of the plastic washers on the shaft. Make sure that the wipe roller is in the right orientation. It can only really go on over the spring one way. Put that there. The plastic washer back on, and the retaining ring clip back on over to secure everything. Make sure that's securely fit. Give it a spin. Everything is secure. Next, we'll go over the rear wipe roller for the black EX cartridge. Again, there's a snap ring, so we'll take our snap ring pliers, remove the snap ring itself. There's another rubber or plastic washer on here. Keep track of that. And the wipe roller itself will have a solid core and no spring on the back. So we get the new one, we'll take it, we'll put it on, plastic washer, and then snap ring. And that's a replacement of the rear wipe roller. Next, we're going to go over the blade replacement on the black 2-inch SB cartridge. Be careful because the blade is really sharp, so be mindful of where the tips are so you don't get hurt. So first we're going to take this cartridge and we're going to turn it up on end. Do it this way so you can see the screws. We're going to disconnect the spring, the main spring, from the back to take the tension off. After that, the wheels will be loose. That way you can get them out of the way. Next, we're going to take our 3mm metric Allen wrench. You'll see there's 2 screws and these blades are slotted. So again, the points are very sharp. So we're going to loosen the screws on here. You don't have to take them all the way out. About a turn on each one, and then the blade will fall out. On the new blade, you get the new blade in, it'll look like this. The back side is like this, and so when we put it back in, we want to make sure that the beveled side right here is facing the screws. You can slide it over, and when we place this in here, the correct position is going to be an angle. So when we cut the tape, it's going to be shearing. We want the high side of the angle to be along the box arm cutter right here. So again, we'll place it like this, be careful of the tips, and then we will tighten the screws back down. That way when the knife cuts the tape, we're starting on one edge of the tape and then cutting across. Tighten those back up. You can reconnect the mainspring at that point in time. Pull the spring, hook it around the back, and we're all set to go. The brush replacement in the back here is to wipe down that trailing edge of the tape on the case itself. This again will become worn out after a period of time, so the replacement is fairly straightforward. We have 2 set screws here that we can loosen up. This is a M2.5 metric Allen wrench. After you loosen these up, the brush will pop out, and then a new one can be inserted. Center it, tighten the set screws. And you're done. Then we're going to replace the main spring in the tape head cartridge. So what we're going to do is loosen or unhook the tape head spring from the bolt. Flip this up now on the table. Take a metric 12 wrench and loosen the jam nuts to support the tape head. We'll have one side loose. Take this out. There's the main spring. To go replace it, we have the new mainspring. Backwards process, go through, put the spring in there, put the jam nut on. Secure the M12 jam nut here to make sure that it's tight. I'll flip this back down. And reattach the hook on the back of the spring. In order to increase or decrease the tension, as you can see when the wipe rollers go up, tension increases and decreases. If you need more tension or less tension, we can adjust the amount of thread that's shown here. In order to do that, we can release the clip from the back, use our wrench to loosen the bolt. Don't have to take it all the way off. Move the other nut down. And the farther we move this nut down towards the spring, the more tension we're going to have. If you need more tension, then we'll tighten up this second jam nut. Once we find the tension, we'll tighten everything up. Reattach the hook onto the back of the bolt there. And now we're set. Now again, we'll have more tension. What this tension is going to do is press upwards on the box, creating the tape to stick to the box that adhere. Too much tension on tape heads sometimes cause the arms to deflect up too much and put too much pressure on. Too less tension, sometimes they don't wipe the tape on the box correctly. I'm going to go over the clutch roller replacement. So we sell the clutch roller, which is a one-way clutch roller, meaning that this only spins one way, and the sticky side is typically on this rough surface. This helps us to prevent the tape from backlashing, and so this clutch roller and spring might need to be replaced. In order to do that, we'll take the tape head here. There's one bolt on the back side. It's a metric 5 Allen wrench. Loosen it, take it out, holding the other side with the other hand, and then replace it in reverse with a new one. Typically I like to start the bolt in there, the wrench on, find the hole, and then thread it in. Once you get it started, you can tighten it up. If you need to, we can have a wrench on this side as well to really tighten it up. So this is a clutch roller that we just replaced. There's a nut, nylock nut here with a spring underneath it that you can either increase or decrease the tension on the tape. The tension on the tape is this clutch roller, one-way clutch roller, spins only one way. You can't spin it the other way. In order to increase the pressure or tension on the tape, we'll take a 17mm wrench and tighten this bolt. I would go a half a turn at a time to see how much harder it is to turn this. To loosen the tension, again, half a turn at a time. Find that tension on the clutch roller. The ideal tension that we start with from factory is just a finger drag of looseness on the clutch roller itself, so it's not free spinning. It's not also too tight. So the tension on the clutch roller that we just looked to adjust here, remember, clockwise to tighten, counterclockwise to loosen. When you have your tape threaded up, we'll be able to pull this out. And so as you can see, sticky side is on that tape roller itself. Now this, I'm going to push the back roller up here, and you can see as the tape is being applied to the box, the tension on that clutch roller. We'll cut it, and now I'll put too much tension. So I'm going to, for example, just increase this full turn. Show you the difference between how hard it is. You can see the tape wants to really pull out. And we'll go another turn. Show you just some differences between the tightness that people have on the clutch roller itself and what it does to the tape. So now this tape is even harder to pull out. And when it goes to cut, it'll want to snap back. Next, we're going to go over the tape core removal, replacement, adjustment, and tension on it. So first we'll have the tape cartridge here, lay it down, show you the removal process. So we'll take the tape off, set this aside. Now the tape core itself looks like this. So on the tape core, we have a nut on the back, 5mm metric wrench that we can put in here to hold it steady. And the other side we'll have a jam nut. So what we'll want to do is hold one side there, take a wrench and loosen this nut. When you loosen the nut, it'll come off. Set this aside, and then the tape core will unscrew from the mill stand. This is also how you adjust the centering of the tape. So when your tape is here, if you want it centered on the cartridge on the rollers, you can move this in to move the tape edge closer to the backside, or out. You can see the distance increases to move the tape to the front of the tape head cartridge. So right now we'll kind of center this in the middle. Put the nut back on. We'll start here. Use our metric 5, press a wrench, and we will tighten the jam nut on here. So usually I'll hold one side still. Now that that's tight, it's not going to rotate or move. You'll see how centered the tape is in the tape head cartridge. You can put the tape back on the tape head. Thread the tape through. Go around the rollers, around the gold rollers, sticky side to the gold rollers, which is why they're gold. Pull it through. Now, with the tape of ion side, you can see as we pull the tape down how centered or not the tape is. You can see from the front of the tape head. When we pull this down again, we need to move the tape, the center of the tape, to one side or the other side using the tape core. So it looks like we can go back towards the back frame a little bit because there's more black down here. So what I'll do is put my backhand on here, push the roller on, cut the tape. Whenever you want to manually cut the tape, always push from the back roller so then you don't have the possibility of cutting yourself on the knife. So in order to move the tape to the back of the cartridge this way, again, we'll use our wrench here. We'll loosen up the jam nut slightly so we can rotate this. Now I'm going to turn this in. So I'm turning it counterclockwise. And that's moving this tape roll over towards the center here. So I moved it over 2 turns. Tighten this back up. There. Then I'll recheck how centered the tape is. as I pull it out. Now that's more centered. On the tape core, it also has a tensioner. So there's a nylock nut here with a 19mm metric wrench. You can either increase the tension by rotating this clockwise or decrease the tension counterclockwise. What's the proper tension of this? The tighter you have this, the more compressed the spring gets, and the harder it is for this roll to turn. What we don't want is this roll free spinning. So we want to increase this tension, so as the tape comes off of the roll and cuts, the roll does not free spin. So this particular one, I'll do another half turn here, quarter turn, increase the tension, and it comes off. The more you increase this tension, the harder the tape is going to pull off of the roll. So this is a case where we have too much tension either on the tape core itself or the clutch roller. So right now I've currently adjusted these so they're all the way in almost. And you'll see as I run this box through what the tape will do at the end when it tries to cut. As you can see, the backside, because there's so much tension and stress in the tape, that as soon as it cut, the tape ended up bunching up at the back. That means we have to reduce the tension in the tape head. So in the case when there's too much tension, first thing I'm going to do is go to the clutch roller, the one-way clutch roller, and reduce the tension on here. Take my 17mm wrench, I'm going to back this out, and I'll start with kind of the default position, about 1/8 inch away from the end of the nut to here. Again, we want this to have just a little bit of drag when we free spin it with our finger. Now what we'll do is we'll run this box again, do an adjustment I made. Now you can see that the tape didn't crinkle up on top here. Now I'll show you an example of when the tape core is adjusted too loosely. So what I'll do is loosen the tape core up. There's too much. What we're going to see is that the tape core, as the tape goes through, is going to free spin more. So I turn the machine on here. And then the tape is very loose here. So we want to make sure this is always tensioned properly, so this is tight, like this. This is this black piece right here. This is the last piece that interacts with the box before the knife arm comes down and cuts the tape. The farther out we go, the longer the tab length will be. The farther upwards we go, the shorter the tab length will be. So we'll do a comparison here where we have this position. We'll run the box through, see the tape length, and then make an adjustment and show you the differences between the two. So right now, we'll run this through. We have approximately 2 inches of tape length on the front, say 2 inches of tape on the back. To adjust the tab, take a 3mm wrench and loosen the screws. Be careful because there's a blade behind there that's very sharp. We'll come from the side, we'll loosen it. Both these, we're going to just, for this example, adjust it all the way out to the back. See how long that tape leg will grow. So here we are now 2 3/4 inches long, all the way adjusted out. All right, and then we're going to adjust this all the way in. We'll show another result. Again, there's a knife blade in here, so we'll adjust this all the way in. Retighten the screws on the box. As you can see, about 1.5 inches tape length. The front tape leg length adjustment is going to be done by this screw here. Currently we have this in the center, so what this does is going to act and move it down to the end. Effectively, we're going to make our tape leg length front longer. Careful, there's a blade in here, so we'll move this all the way down to this position. Run the case through. You can see this tape leg, front tape leg, is now longer. Okay, so the front tape leg of the adjustment. Now if we move this blade seat upwards all the way to the front, you tighten it. Be careful, there's a sharp blade in here. See how short this tape is going to be cut on the front leg. Again, because the distance from the roller to where the knife is shorter, whereas before it was longer. Box through. You can see the leg is now shorter, 1.5 inches. So when adjusting the front tape leg, remember that this tape is already cut to length, so you'll have to run one box after the adjustment to see the effect. So again, the second box will have the effect of this change after you make the change. So we'll go from a short tape length to a long one. We'll run 2 boxes back to back here so you can see the differences. Again, the front is there. We're gonna run one. Set it. And then the second one that we run, we'll see the difference. Now you can see the difference between the first cut was and the second cut. When adjusting the tape leg length, we also have to look at the bumper for the connecting arm. So this here is on an eccentric square. So you can kind of see where there's a different length. So as I loosen this from one side and rotate it in different positions, it changes the length. So there's position A, position B, C, and D. And then we'll have to tighten it back up when we get our split position right. Side, and I'll lock that like that. Rotating this washer is going to change the height of where these wipe on the box. So as I rotate this to different sides and positions, you can see the different height of where these rest. One position, 2 positions. So the bumper adjustment that we have here, as you can see, the front of the tape is not in the center of the roller. So this portion of the tape, here to here, will not be wiped down. In order to get it fully wiped, you can adjust the bumper position to see where the center of the tape is in the center of the roller. Then it'll be fully wiped. To center the tape on the box, there are 3 different points on the machine that you can adjust. You can adjust the tape head, the tape cartridge, or the side belts. Typically that's the order that we'd want to start to adjust the tape head. So in looking at the box and where the center of the box is, in this example the tape is off center. And so we want to make sure the tape is centered. So we would start with position 1, the jam nut, and the tape core, to move the tape left or right. The second position on the tape head would be the jam nuts and the screws. And we can move the whole tape head left or right. The third one would be the dry belts themselves. We can move the dry belts left or right. Typically all the factory standards will have centered on everything, but if you need to make those adjustments, those are the 3 areas. On the tape head, there is a long Phillips head screw, the jam nut. What this does is stop the tape arm from coming up. So as I push this up, mindful of my finger, the wheels, it stops the wheels at a hard stop, depending on where that adjustment pull is made. The current position is right here. If I look at this bolt, I can see where it's hitting that front arm connecting arm and where that stops. If I need to add more pressure or want the wheels to stop farther down, I'm going to loosen the jam nut and stop the wheels lower here. So that's going to be my stop. In order to make the adjustment, use an 8mm wrench, my jam nut, and a Phillips head. Slightly loosen the jam nut, and in this case, I will increase the length of the screw into the arm. So what this effectively is going to do, I'm going to stop the wheels farther down. So this is my stop. You can see from this surface to this surface, it's farther down this way. The longer I make that. If I want to make these wheels stop up inside farther, I can make that adjustment. Taking the same jam nut and loosening, turning counterclockwise. This long screw. Tighten the jam nut. What that's going to do is stop the tape head wipe arms up inside the head. We're going to look at the knife arm spring, which is in the front of the SB-2EX black tape head, and the replacement of the spring. This spring is a spring that actuates a knife. So as the blades come up and spring back, this is what cuts tape. So we're going to replace this now. Using a metric 12 wrench, we're going to put it on the jam nut. 6mm Allen wrench. We're going to loosen the jam nut slightly and then remove this screw from thread. Now that we have it loose, we can remove the second one. Again, same 12 wrench. Push this out of the way, loosen it, unthread it from back plate. Once we have this out, we can take off the nuts, move the screws, replace the spring. Keep in mind that there's two different lengths screws here. Longer screw will be at the back, shorter screw in the front. So as we go to replace this now, screw in, have the nut next, and the lock nut or lock washer. We'll thread this first one in. Kind of put our finger on the back to see where it sits flush. So the end of the screw should be flush with the back of the plate. Once that's there, we can tighten the jam nut to secure everything in place. Out of the way. What this jam nut's going to do is make sure that this screw doesn't come out of the plate. So once that's in there, the screw is locked in place, so we'll go ahead and slip the other bolt, the spring, the nut on, and the washer comes next, and then we're going to thread it into this plate down here. Now this is going to have to be a little tricky because you have to have a little tension. I'll do start it one side, then bring it tilted up, start threaded into that plate. Again, we want to be flush on the back side underneath here, not protruding out. If we go too far, the end of the screw is going to hit that side frame. So again, we're going to go flush here. Once that's it, we're going to lock the nut down and tighten this jam nut so that way this screw stays in place. Make sure the screw are tight. Make sure the spring is even. It's not at an angle. Nothing's interfering, it should be good. Alright, thanks for watching our SB-2EX black tape head service and replacement video. For more information on parts numbers or user guides, please visit our website at east.com. Thank you.